Welcome to the writings of Patrick S. Smith.
Hello, everyone. Just want to give everybody an update on where the writing is going and what's going on. Last week was hectic as all get out because my youngest is just graduated from high school, so now it's get her ready for college and out the door. But that's now behind me, so like I say, it's just now getting her ready for college. On the writing front, that's going to be a little bit of a detriment to me because she has been a wonder at coming up with titles for some of my stories. So the titles may now suffer for that reason. Um, Mainly, what I've been working on is going through and doing a fair bit of editing on things. I've been working on revisions to My Time with the Elves because I did query that to an agent and had some pretty good feedback. It wasn't an acceptance, it was a rejection, but she saw potential in it, so definitely going to go through one more time and with revisions and see if I can make it more palatable, more marketable as far as an agent goes. Um, Worked a bit on Amber. Slowly that is coming along. It's one of these, I have scenes, I have basically the entire story up here. It's getting it down on paper is the problem because it's not writer's block. It is how to actually do things, and I need to just push through, write the story first, and then go back, clean it up, and make it better. Uh, there are, and I'm getting ready to release a little bit later today the Lost 11th, which is a short within the world of Olith. It is and also a discussion of time. Both are written by sages within the world of Olith, members of the Sage Elrub. A discussion of time is the calendar system they use, and gives you also, in fact, gives you some information that there are two moons and that they are in sync. They both go full at the same, or there is a conjunction where they are both full at the same time. It just happens to also fall on the equinoxes and the solstices. So you get a little bit better sense of time within the world of Olith when they talk about different phases of the moon and, where they're at. The Lost 11th is partially inspired by true events. I know that one of the Roman emperors sent something like 3 legions into Germany to try to conquer Germanic tribes there, and all 3 legions were lost. So the Lost 11th is a parallel to that. It's just that it is more politically driven, so, dealing with past problems that the Nerians have had and trying to rectify them, but there's political motivations behind all this and schemes. So, but again, here it serves to give some history of the world, some backstory to things that have gone on in the world of Olith. 2 other stories that are they're getting closer to fruition. I believe I've discussed before the Morgan Building that has gone through a name change, and it is now the Stafford Building. Still the same story, just name change and some cleanup. I am right now trying to get some beta readers for hopefully a final reading, and so it's just a couple little quick fixes so I can publish that. I am actually going to current plan is to try to submit that to magazines and see if it will get published there. Another one that I am in the process of doing some final edits to, and it is also very close to getting published, is My Friend Death, which, if you've read my work, you know I have two other stories out there, Death's Holiday and The Heart of Death, which were, well, Death's Holiday started off as just something, a quick inspiration from Rime of the Ancient Mariner, where at the point where the mariner encounters death and the nightmare life and death. I took that scene and came at it from the backside, where you get the story from death and the nightmare life and death's perspective. I gave them names. It's Cedric and Bertha. And the original was a bit of a, I believe I've mentioned this before, a bit of a, old sitcom like I Love Lucy, Honeymooners, that sort of thing. So, backstory to that. And since then, it's gone a slightly bit more romantic. Not all death is not always involved. Even though Cedric and Bertha are there. And it looks like it's going to end up being its own anthology. I am actually working at it as that way, and thanks here again to my youngest daughter, it is the title of that anthology will be For the Love of Death. So it would, for those who read it, will get it. For newcomers, it might be a little bit of a misnomer. And as I said, the Stafford building is getting close, and I plan on releasing it soon. So that is that on that front, and wanted to take a moment to talk about a couple of the original stories, or some of the older stories I have written, where the idea for those came from, and a couple of my poems, because people are always that's one thing that you get. At least I seem to. That's always the first question: is where do you come up with this stuff? And the one story I want to highlight, and it is in Tales of the Seeress. It's the lead story. It serves as a bit of a backstory, prologue, whatever you want to call it, but it is its own self-contained story in a way, and that is a dissertation on the Seeress. And I owe the concept of that one to my senior English teacher, who has since long retired, I would say, Dr. Lumpkin, aka Lumpy. And we were discussing how some stories like Beowulf come about, and the way he described it, and it has stuck with me for 35 years because it was so comical, but it made sense, is that a lot of these stories start off with something simple, and in his description, it was the Vikings show up on the shore, and instead of just making camp for a year and then moving on, they drop roots. Well, the locals aren't thrilled with them, and in his description, the locals were Smurfs. So, typical Viking, the cliche Viking, they're all getting hammered, and one guy's on guard duty, but he's 3 sheets to the wind like everybody else, and the Smurfs have had enough of the Vikings, so they come in and a couple of the Vikings while they're passed out. Well, rather than tell the truth of, it was a bunch of little blue dudes, it was this big greasy monster, and I was so scared. And it just builds off of that. In reality, which makes sense. Okay, yeah, you could see a local group get invaded by the Vikings, not happy about it, try to make a stand, and, to make the story more appealing to later generations, it gets embellished and it gets enlarged. So that's where dissertation kind of came from. It was, okay, I have this epic figure in my head, the Seeress, but she just didn't pop up. No, it was people, building her up. It was, telling stories about what she had done. And now you go back some 500 years of her being around, you have a sage who's going back through the stories going, wait a minute, there's a pattern here, there's certain similarities. And trying to figure out who she really is. It's probably a little cerebral, but it sets the stage. And the second story in Tales of the Seeress, The Farmer, in many ways was an example of that, and also, very watered down, because I never wanted the Seeress to be the grand epic person who just shows up when things are bad, or, when major events are occurring. It was always, she's subtle. She just comes around and goes on her own. You never know. And you don't know if it is the Seeress, because she doesn't sit there and say, hi, I'm the Seeress, and this is what's going to happen. So the Farmer is, in essence, just her showing up at some poor farmer's home looking for some milk for her niece. And this farmer's got 2 cows. He's getting ready to take one to the market and sell it. And the Seeress just kind of offhand says, well, I don't know much about cows, but I'd sell the other one. I think the one that you talking about, son, would do a lot better if she was on her own. So, it was just the subtlety, to plant the seed, and the story goes from there. And 2 poems, though, I do want to talk about on that front, and both of which I have just dropped the videos for on YouTube. I will link them in the description, and you could probably see them over here. Is the first one is Launch, and there the story is, or the reason behind that was, yes, I did 20 years in the Air Force, in the reserves, and I did feel that way about the planes I worked on. Reason being is my father served in Vietnam, and about the time I went in, he told the story the first time about him getting his orders to come home. And I forget where he said he was stationed, but he got orders, and it was by any means possible. So here's this C-123, I think it was, bunch of pallets in the cargo bay because they just offloaded and they were taking the empty pallets back. And the flight crew said, yeah, if you don't mind riding on the back of the pallets, we'll get you home. And as my career went on, I realized the importance of a crew chief in the Air Force at maintaining a good plane. And to that crew chief who maintained that plane that started my father's journey home, thank you, because in my opinion, that day, that moment, that was the best airplane in the Air Force fleet. That's personal, that's me, but, and in my career, I always felt, I never knew what missions the planes were flying. So that's why it is, I say, in there, if it's to bring troops home, may the breath of God clear your way, or may God lift your wings and His breath clear your way. Because that one crew chief back in 1971, I got to know my father. And to me, the greatest mission I ever knew that these planes flew on was either A, when they served as the Angel of Mercy, when they were taking aid to people in need, or B, bringing troops home, reuniting families. Those were the two great missions they did. The other poem I dropped is Daughter, which I wrote about a year after I adopted my oldest daughter. Because when I got married, she was 10, so it was a learning experience for both of us. And initially, I was not her choice for a dad, and the reverse is true. She wasn't my choice for a daughter. She wasn't the daughter I expected or wanted. But we've grown over the years to realize, we're good for each other. So that's why the passage in there that, we have built bridges and paved roads is, we've made headway. She is my family. She is my daughter. And I don't treat her any different than I do her sister outside of age and just the fact that they are two different people. So, so up on the schedule, hopefully, is getting some of these edits done so I can go back and have a clearer mind in writing. And getting back to getting some things published because it feels like it's been forever, and I'm not a fast writer, at least not like I was. When I first started, a short story a month, even a week, was nothing. There were some I cranked out in a day, a couple thousand words in a day, nothing. Now I'm doing good, but 500 down in a day. And a lot of that is just growth as a writer. I've learned through all the editing that certain things are going to change, because of just what is a better writing style. So it has slowed me down because now that's in the back of my head. And I go, that don't work. That's not, no, how do I rephrase this? So I'm doing some editing while I'm writing it, slowing me down. It's not that I'm trying to get it right the first time, just want to it's an awkward mix of getting the story out versus minimizing the amount of work down the road. So I'm hoping now that I've got my plate clear. My plate, it looks like it's going to be clearing some. Things will go better. There is that. And I did, just because this past week was a little hectic, I found one of the old poems I had started a while back. I found and started working on it now, just trying to hit that vibe to go back and really finish it, because when I write poetry, it is on feeling. It's raw. I describe it as being in the raw. I want that raw emotion. I want that raw feeling in there so that the reader can grasp it immediately. They can feel it and either immediately go, "Oh, you're totally off base," or, "Oh, I get that." And that's in everything. So it's just, so it may not be the best of verses. It may not be the most eloquent, but there is that, like I say, that raw feeling that I like to try to capture and share, because it's been a healing process for me in some ways, because good, bad, or indifferent, bad things happen in life, everybody's lives, and if me putting it out there and then somebody coming back and to say, "Hey, thank you, I get it," or "I've been there," yeah, that's what's I'm trying to do. And sometimes it's just whimsy, just me being silly, I don't care, type thing. So there's that. But I'm hoping to get back into, like I said, getting back into actually creating, writing. Also going to, as I've said before, I've got all the audio done for The Chaos of Me. And that's out there. Now the next thing is to, I'm going to try my hand at one of the short stories I've published. Now, it won't be out of Tales of the Seers. It will be one of the others. I haven't decided which yet. I can rule out, I could go ahead and rule out Death's Holiday and Things Mother Never Told Me, because they are published on webzines, so those are, and there are certain restrictions, and I don't want to, mess with them yet. I may record them and just have them in my back pocket so that after they've been out for a year, I can go back and release those. So it'll be something other than that. It may be after A Ghostly Millennium, I Am Heard. That one's kind of up there, so that may be it. We'll see. So, thank you, and don't forget to look out for my books, Tales of the Seers and The Chaos of Me. You can get those on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and who else knows. I think I even happened to run across one of them on Walmart's website, of all places. So, everyone, take care, and I'll see you with the next entry. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. You can find more of my books on Amazon.com. Also, you can find more of my stories and poems at patricksmithauthor.wordpress.com. The links are in the description. Thank you.